So, natural law is a set of universal, inherent, objective, non-man-made, eternal, and immutable conditions which govern the consequences of behavior of beings with the capacity for understanding the difference between harmful and non-harmful behavior.
FUNL 5, a free 2-day online conference.
Ignite hearts and minds.
The event that will spark truth, love, and freedom.
February 21st and 22nd, 2026.
For more information, visit freedomundernaturallaw.com.
Hey folks, this is Chris Jansen of the End Evil podcast. This is a special short interview with a man named Dan Arnold, the spiritual anarchist. I'm excited to have him here. He's going to be a speaker at Freedom Under Natural Law 5, which is coming up. Ignite Hearts and Minds, coming up February 21st and 22nd. And Dan's creating a presentation. And so I thought I'd have him on and help, promote the conference and promote what Dan's working on. Thanks for joining me today, Dan. I know you're not feeling perfect, but I'm glad you made it.
No, I'm happy to be here. I've been a little sick lately, but I slept like 13 hours, so I have no excuse.
Well, the longer you sleep, the harder it is to wake up, I've found.
I've been up for a couple hours though. I just it's crazy change of weather here in the Cleveland area.
Yeah,
in Ohio,
Right. Yeah, and speaking of waking up, right, like that's a slow process too for the world in terms of waking up to matters of truth, freedom, natural law. It's constantly on my mind. I know how to talk about these things, how to move the ball forward, and we're up against a lot of opposition in this world. So I'm curious what I talked to you about being a presenter at Freedom Under Natural Law conference, and you got excited about it. What is it? What inspires you about being a presenter at this conference?
Well, there's the weird synchronicity of it being the 5th conference, because 5 seems to be a synchronistic number in my life. It denotes change and conflict, and we are in a lot of conflict and change going on in the world. So there's that synchronistic thing amongst other things. But I think getting out there more this year. Getting out more this year to tell my story of how I got over unhealthy coping mechanisms, how I went from being an order follower, not just military, because there's a lot of ex-military guys who become anarchists or voluntarists, but how I went from becoming a cop to an anarchist is a unique story. And I just want to get out there to get the message out there to my fellow order followers that objective morality exists, and it's not in the arbitrary dictates of the politicians you can't stand anyway. Don't follow immoral orders. And if I can get out of it, anybody can. I ego identified with that job for a lot of years. So getting out of that ego identification of that job, not being Dan the cop, just being a human being. And luckily for me, my record is verifiable. It can be verified. I was light-handed. I didn't write a lot of tickets. I got in trouble for writing tickets or for not writing tickets. So I wouldn't write tickets, and they were mad at me. They thought, you're too good to do the little stuff. No, they're too good for it. I didn't sign up for this just to make the city money or whatever. I didn't like the contradictions in the work. I didn't like the fact that even on the smaller level where I was at, and you can see on the bigger level in the last 5-6 years in our country, that political powers that shouldn't be weaponize law enforcement against their political adversaries. And I'm uniquely qualified to talk about that because I was definitely in a Game of Thrones on the last department I was on, and I was a pawn that was sacrificed. I'll just put it to you that way. They will throw you under the bus, guys. But there's life on the other side of it. There really is. And if you can get out of it or understand, if your neighbor doesn't have a right to do it, neither do you. If no one's being hurt and nobody's being victimized, there's no crime.
Yeah, you already started answering my next question, about how, our conference is called Freedom Under Natural Law. So your story is very appropriate, but I'd like to hear in your words how that your story does reflect the deeper concept of natural law and working
Well,
towards freedom.
what happened is in 2017. Well, first off, when I was 6 years old in 1977, I actually died. Had an out of body experience. I talk about it in my book, Rise from Darkness. Who are they? 40 years later, I find myself in the hospital, unable to breathe at 46 years old, and nearly died. And my eyes were closed, and with my eyes closed, I can see this silver, like white light under my skin, like my aura, but it was very small and very weak. And my breath was given out, and all I kept thinking to myself is I regretted all my petty ego. I regretted chasing my ego and chasing like meaningless accomplishments. I regretted the petty arguments that I would allow myself to get into. I regretted things I didn't do. That was a big thing. Things I should have done that I didn't do. And I kept hearing this repeated mantra, this voice that kept saying only love and discernment can drive out hate and fear. And I was talking to a young conscious man about this back in 2020. And he asked me if, did I ever regret love? And I answered immediately, no, I regretted not loving more. And after that happened to me in 2017, I started having a lot of different things at the time that I would call supernatural, but I now call simply natural, that I understand them better, synchronicities with animals and stuff like that. And I set off on a path to kind of connect colloquial religion, the colloquial meaning of the term, with science, and wrote the first sentence of Rise from Darkness. I think it was on August 5th, 2018. And in 2019, I ran into Mark's work, and that kind of filled that gap in for me. And what he said really resonated. And it let me know some things that I needed to know, that I wasn't some piece of trash because I had some unhealthy coping mechanisms that I dealt with and got over. It let me know what objective morals are, and that I was not in a moral line of work. And man, when I listened to Cosmic Abandonment, I was in a state of denial for a little bit, at least a day. And then I had to look in the mirror and say, yeah, he's right. That was a hard pill to swallow. And then from that point, it was like less than 5 months later, I was shaking his hand at Anarchadelphia, went to his Teaching Natural Law seminar, and then decided this is what I want to do. And believe me, I've been tested since then a lot of times.
Yeah, and there's no goal line in this type of work, the one great work, and working towards freedom, because we're not there. We got a long way to go. So it's just a constant journey of self-work and relating to a completely inverted society where, your average person you're going to talk to is going to say we are free, and we're over here saying, well, this isn't freedom, because our choices are being limited and canceled out and overruled and taxed. So, the real question is, well, there's a lot of real questions, but for this sake of this, what we're calling Funnel 5 is ignite hearts and minds. We're thinking about, getting a fire going. You got to get this spark, right? Sometimes that can be hard, especially when we're in the cold dead of winter and the logs are wet. And that's kind of the situation we're dealing with psychologically and mentally in our world. Like you're saying, there's a lot of resistance.
There's also a lot of synchronicities involved for me with that. Like August of 2024, I lost a dear childhood friend of mine. He died. 2 weeks later, I'm at a psychic friend's house, and all of a sudden she looks like off to the side and says, "Can you hear that? He's right there." And I'm like, "No." He's like, "He's screaming forge." He's screaming forge to her. And the way she described it sounded just like him. He worked at a forge. In 2011, when the Avengers were filming in Cleveland, he made 2 Captain America shields. Dude worked at a forge. So the synchronicities from there just kept going. I started on revolution.radio, they want you to find royalty-free music. So I was looking up, when Thor enters Wakanda, what was the name of the music, just without the words. So that way there's no, anything. The name of the song, just the instrumental, is called Forge. I'm like, are you kidding me? And I've been a Thor nerd or a comic book guy my whole life. And then all of a sudden I see ignite. You know, I mean, the whole thing is just speaking to me, like screaming at me, dude, this is the year. It's time to come out. It's time to get out bigger. You know, don't play small. So I see these cowards in this world doing what they're doing. And I can't stand by and just let it happen without trying to do something. And there's so much, in my opinion, they put out people against each other that are higher up, well known, on purpose. I really can see through ops. I see what it is. And it's kind of, it can be a real downer when you see that high up and there's controlled opposition that high up, and it's street theater. I'm looking at street theater. That's all I'm freaking seeing. Yeah, I don't know. It's
Well, I think, you know, a lot of us see the problems out there, and I think a lot of our audience is aware, you know, that the problems are severe, and people that will be attending the FUNL conference. But somehow a lot of us are missing a piece or haven't ignited yet. So what spark do you want to throw their way? What would you like, if there's one thing that people could take away from your work and what you have to teach? What would it be? What do you want people to, what spark do you want to fire them up?
Remember, love and discernment. Only love and discernment can drive out hate and fear. We've all heard the term love under will. You know, love under will. Love under courage. Have courage. That's my secret. I've been scared a lot in my life, but I've always done whatever I needed to do. I always forged ahead, despite fear, because fear isn't the absence. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the presence of fear, and still charging that beach, still doing what it is you have to do. And courage is hard.
Yeah, it is.
Courage is hard. You got to have the courage to be vulnerable, have the courage to put yourself out there, and then have the courage to stand up to the injustice. And don't speak these people's language. Speak plain language. I'm not going to get into a $5, you know, lower appendage measuring contest with somebody's verbiage. I want to speak plain English, street talks, because what I'm seeing in the collective of the political arena, they all like to talk fancy and they don't say shit. So, you know, both sides are really objectively the same. There is no left or right. It's just the government. And you have to have courage to stand up to it, because if we don't, the outcome is going to be complete enslavement. I mean, it's what they want. And it's people can't see it. And I'm still trying to figure out the best way to go about putting a message out there that can unite people. You know?
I agree.
And that's the name of this, unite, right?
Yeah. And it's difficult because it seems so overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I think all of us who've gone about this project, you know, our own one great work, looking towards what can I do to aid humanity in this process towards freedom, see how, you know, what we're up against is pretty overwhelming. And so I feel like sometimes we find this balance where we're going too far into the hopium, you know, dreaming everything could get better and everybody could just realize to the realism of, well, a lot of people aren't ready to realize. But in the meantime, I still have to find a way to keep hope and to spark the desire for some sort of change in others. So I'm not saying there's any easy answers on that, but any kind of spark of encouragement or hope you can give people is.
Yeah, the hope that I can give people is some of the experiences that I've had, like when I was mind spoken to once, and I'm not going to say by who, but she said, "Danny, don't fear me." It's a little supernatural sounding, I get it, but anybody who thinks I'm nuts, I'm going to ask them, you know that bearded guy that's invisible in the desert sky? Y'all believe in him? You can believe in this. I think there's beings in this world that do mean us good, that mean they mean good for humanity. They want to see us do good, but it's going to take action on our own part. It's going to take action on our own part. And knowing our history, not just going back with the history we've been told, but, you know, going deeper into history, going back to Atlantis, going back to what really could be going on in the Middle East and really question what's going on. Nobody wants to do that. And I gave a talk in Tarpon Springs, Florida, when I laid it out. What that's all about. What that is all about is they're using that as an excuse to fire off a religious war, because people will do all kinds of crazy stuff if they feel like they're doing it for their quote unquote God. I think there's something against the bloodlines of the quote unquote Semitic people they want to do away with. People don't get it. They either have to jump on one side or the other. And I believe the children of Atlantis, they arrived in that area in 12,000 BCE, and they've been there the whole time. And they try to say that the Semitic refers to languages spoke. So you mean to tell me, if I'm from Alabama, I'm going to go over there, I'm going to learn Arabic, and then I'm a Semitic too? I don't want to start cussing. No. It ain't about the languages spoke. There's a bloodline. We know there's a whole bloodline in this. They slaughtered 18 million Hebrew Jews. Real Semitic Hebrew Jews. They got replaced with others. The largest amount of Hebrew Jews currently reside in Iran. What are they talking about doing to Iran? The other Semitic people are the Palestinians. What are they doing to them? What is it about that bloodline they want to eradicate? No one's asking these simple questions. How come every time there's a new artifact found that can shed light on the origins of humanity over in that area of the world, well, it's time for a war? Researchers, you're out. So, I mean, nobody asks these other questions. It's just like, no, we're going to table that stuff. They don't want to ask common sense shit.
Yeah, and far too often, the average person is like, oh, I'm not an authority on that topic. I got to trust the authorities, right? Where, too much trusting of official and authoritarian information has led us down a lot of negative roads involving murder and rape of people and their countries and unlimited deaths. So it's just going on and on. It's terrible. And I appreciate that you're doing a show. Maybe you could tell people before we cut out a little bit what your show's about and where they can find it. And then I really would like just a little bit of, if you could give us a little teaser about what your funnel presentation is going to be about.
Okay. Luckily, I got a lot of that written down. I could open it up.
Oh, right on.
So the name of my presentation is going to be The Hammer and the Flame. Okay, how I forged myself to the rise from darkness. I had my dark night of the soul. How I got over unhealthy coping mechanisms. How I got over addictions. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about why I left police work and became a spiritual anarchist. The fact that I actually seen a lot of bad stuff in police work, and I had PTSD and didn't even realize it at first. And, that's no excuse for unhealthy coping mechanisms. But see, what happened with me is all the PTSD that I had from being on a scene of a double homicide or having to hug a mother after we both watched your son die of a gunshot wound, and the kind of energy you never want to feel again. I didn't want to lose my wonder at life. I didn't want to be this jaded cop and just, nothing affects me or anything like that. I see so many people, they lose themselves, and I refuse to. I still have wonder at life. I still love the birds, the trees, nature. Back in 2019, it came to me that we have to return to nature. This was all coming to me in 2019. Next thing I know, I meet Corey a couple years later. He's got that whole thing covered, I also want to get back to making things epic and mythic and using our imagination. I start talking about that in this conference on why it's important to return to that childlike state of wonder, imagination, and curiosity. And I talk about why I think they're always under attack. They don't want that energy in the collective because that energy is what solves problems, which is why as soon as they get into schools, they're under attack. They don't want that creativity. They try to kill that creativity. When I worked for the government as a law enforcement dude, they killed our creativity. They want you following orders like a drone worker bee. So I think I talk about that, and I'm working on a book right now, which is going to be meant for adults and kids. So I'm not going to even give the name of that, but that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm thinking about an hour to an hour and 5 minutes or so.
It's beautiful. I can't wait to see what you put together, Dan. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. And I'm looking forward to seeing one thing I've noticed at past funnel conferences, there is a momentum that builds. And in the chat, you see people getting involved that you haven't seen for a while, or new people show up.
Right.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing this momentum build and to see some sparks flying this February. So I appreciate your time that you're putting into this. People should know that funnel presenters are not being paid. They're doing this out of their heart and their care for you and me and everyone. And so thanks, Dan, for doing the work you're doing.
No, thank you.
That pretty much covers the questions I wanted to ask you for the conference. So the table is yours if you want to let anybody know where to find your work, and any last words you might want to tell them. Tell them to show up at the conference.
Come to the conference. It's a free conference online. You could find the majority of my work on YouTube at Spiritual Anarchist 5907. That's at Spiritual Anarchist 5907. And Mark Passio was good enough to, he recognized my work enough to bring me onto the One Great Work Network. So onegreatnetwork.com. You could find me on there. And there's 80 other content creators that all are coming at it from their own angle and their own experiences. And I think it's a great idea. And
that's onegreatworknetwork.com.
Yeah, onegreatnetwork.com / Dan-Arnold. That's what my page is. And then I'm also every Thursday morning at 9 o'clock or Thursday morning at 9 o'clock, I do a show on Revolution.radio, Studio A, called Morning Coffee Rants with Dan. And I do I rant a little bit. I'm usually not this nice. I'm capable of getting very angry, and then I bring it right back down. I don't stay up there. But sometimes when I start talking about certain things, I do get mad. And I think people should get mad. I think
that creative expression is part of what you got to do to share humanity.
When I focus the anger, it's not uncontrollable anger; it's focused anger. So it's there's nothing wrong with it. They try to make it in our society that anger is bad. No, ladies, it's not bad. You want men capable of getting angry, because I guarantee you the men that are going to be coming into this country and doing evil are very toxic. I won't hyphenate gender qualities with the word toxic. They're just very toxic who's coming. So you're going to want men who are capable of getting mad.
Yeah. We'll be glad that we're
mad. That's one message I have with that, because I tie all this back into self-defense.
Yeah, and that's a topic I love. Folks, you can check out the End Evil podcast. Dan Arnold's been on, and I'm sure we'll do a future discussion on. We got a lot to talk about self-defense, because that is an important topic. But for today, we hope we just lit the fire under your butt a little bit to get that mark on your calendar, February 21st and 22nd. Show up and check out Dan Arnold's presentation, and we'll be there with all the other funnel presenters and organizers to work on making this change for humanity, because it needs to happen. It needs to be changing sooner than later. Thanks so much.
Like I talked about my deathbed thing, I don't want to be on my deathbed for a third time and wish I had done something that I didn't do.
Neither do you, folks.
Yeah, I want to sing my death song when I'm on my deathbed. I want to be like, all right, I'm not dying with my music in me. I did what I was called to do in this life, and for good or for ill, that's why I'm doing it. God's blessed me in the position I'm in, God with a capital G, and I'm doing what I'm being guided to do.
I'm looking because I was just working on my presentation last night, and I came across, I don't know if you saw Mark Passio's Shadow Work seminar, but he showed this warrior poster that he's got on his wall that I was able to see when he had it at his house. And it describes the virtues of being a warrior. And I was going to see if I had it.
Is he holding a sword? Because I copied it.
Yeah.
I have it in someplace. I really liked it.
Find this one quote, I would like to share it. Here it is. Because what you just said is so appropriate. When the end comes, I will sing my warrior song and go to my reward with honor and dignity. That's how it ends. I am a warrior. I do my duty. I serve a cause greater than myself. I'm accountable for my actions. I blame no one for my faults and give thanks for my abilities. I am governed by natural law. My mind is my most powerful weapon. I train to oppose evil in all of its forms. I will never quit, retreat, or cower in the face of the enemy. I protect the weak, I assist the elderly, and I care for those in need. I strive for perfection, and I ask the same from those who serve with me. I lead by example and have the highest moral standard. The truth is my constant companion. And then it says, when the end comes, I will sing my warrior song and go to my reward with honor and dignity. I am a warrior. So let's all sing that song and carry that with us on a daily basis and work on that.
Absolutely. That's the whole thing. We get into police work, you think you're serving something greater than yourself, and then you find out you are, but it's not good. And a lot of people become disenchanted because of it. I've spoken a lot of stuff about it, and I've had guys come up to me on local departments where they go, no, a majority of us down here agree with you. So if I can get more people to leave and come over to the good guys side, who cares about being on the winning side, man? It doesn't matter. I mean, it just doesn't matter. We're all headed to the same place. And I'd rather be something I agree with that's been said throughout history, and Mark has said it, and it's what use is it being alive if you're a slave? What use is it being alive if you're a slave? Or you think of Braveheart's speech, dying in your beds many years from now. When you think about it, would you be willing to come back here for one chance to fight our enemies and to tell them that they can take our lives, but they can't take our freedom? That's the kind of stuff, and it makes me think, why throughout all human history have we had to go in a circle like a dog chasing its tail over and over again with the same theme of fighting for freedom? Like getting to the real root of the problem. I think Mark's work has done that. He's pointing out if we live according to natural law, and any kid could know what that is by the time they're 10 or 11 years old. It's
in
not
our heart. It's written in our heart. It's in our conscience. And, it's all about that connection, like you said, to the Creator.
Right.
And not fantasizing that connection like the way so many religions will do, turn it into this silly thing, but taking it personally. How do you actually feel in your heart? What is your conscience telling you? What is that still quiet voice? If you're really listening, what is it saying? Asking them more questions. And I love what you do, Dan, and I love what you're bringing forward for this conference. And I hope people do pay attention, because
thank you. I appreciate it.
Your real life experience is solid, and it's something that is astounding, really, that you come from where you came from and where you're at. So
yeah, I guess it's prepared me for this.
I appreciate it, and I'm inspired by you. So thank
you so much. I'll try to live up to it, man. I don't like being put up on anything. It's a long fall,
Yeah, you're awesome, Dan. So we'll be seeing you folks February 21st, 22nd, freedomundernaturallaw.com. And we'll be back. Thanks for coming.